I've had at least 12 concussions that I'm aware of.
Goodness gracious.
Right.
That's pretty common for other guys that you've wrestled alongside throughout their career?
I feel like it's very common, but a lot of guys won't admit when they have it, because if you have a concussion and you miss a show, you miss a payday. Divorce is like a death, because they're in your life, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's no communication. So relationships like that, where you probably talk to her daily, right? Or saw her almost daily, and then it's gone. Yeah. It's almost like she doesn't exist, and that stinks.
Yeah, and they become your person too. Everything that was happening throughout my day, I would tell her about. I just heard this quote recently. It's the 18-40-60 rule, where when you're 18 years old, you care so much about what other people think. When you're 40 years old, you don't care as much about what other people think. And then when you're 60 years old, you realize nobody's really been thinking about you at all.
It's true. Like, whenever I die, no one's going to go, I remember Bill had that skin hanging from him from, you know what I mean?
Or Ian had that hair. Like,
Ian had that widow's peak, man. Yeah. You remember that in school? No one's going to say that. They're going to be like, man, Ian was a great guy. Or, Bill was a great coworker or whatever. They're not going to think about the things that you think people are thinking about.
Do you have the lighter handy, just in case?
Yes, got it. And if this one goes out, I got another one.
Alrighty, you ready?
I'm ready whenever you are.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Reborn Experience. I'm your host, Ian Wolf, and today I'm joined by a former wrestler, educator, and a podcaster. It is my privilege to introduce Mr. Bill Talley.
Yeah, you can call me Mr. Bill, you can call me Bill, you can call me the Butcher, whatever you want to call me.
Okay, a man of many names.
Yes.
So you work in the school setting. What do most of the students call you?
The students call me Mr. Bill.
Okay.
It might be frowned upon if they call me the Butcher.
Yeah, that'd be something.
Although I would enjoy that.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, we could start there. So where did that nickname come from?
The Butcher?
Yes.
Well, let's see. I started wrestling 27 years ago. I recently retired last year. So the name came from what we call a gimmick in wrestling, is your persona. I was watching Gangs of New York, which is an excellent movie if you've never seen it. And there was a character named Bill the Butcher. And I've always been fascinated with that era and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where I got the name from. Obviously, my name's Bill. I don't go by Bill the Butcher, but I was like, man, it's cool. And even my character is from the 5 Points District, which was in the movie. So I created this pig character. I wear a pig mask and like that era of clothing in wrestling gear for my persona. So that's kind of where it came from. So yeah,
it's perfect too. Bill the Butcher. Yeah, so that's an environment I'm not super educated in. So I don't know. I mean, would you like to go a little deeper into the world of wrestling and creating a persona and the environment, all that?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Getting into the business isn't. Back when I started, was not easy. It's a lot easier now. It used to be like a club where like if you wanted to get into it, like they would stretch you, what they call stretch you. They would get you in the ring and they would hurt you for real to see if you were tough enough to handle the business. Hulk Hogan tells the story of his first time in the ring training. He got his leg broke.
Oh, geez.
By Hiro Matsuda, and to see if he was tough enough to handle the business. Well, 6 weeks later, he came back, and he skyrocketed. So I got the crap beat out of me for for a very long time to see if I was tough enough, and I was welcomed into the club, I guess you could say. But then creating your persona is very difficult because like you want something that connects with the crowd, and something that's going to sell T-shirts, that type of thing. And I went for a very long time not really doing that, I guess. I had several different names. My first persona was a hillbilly named Billy McCoy.
Oh, okay. Is that McCoy and the Hatfields, something like that? I feel like I've seen.
Well, here's the deal. Like, I didn't pick that name. The wrestling promoter picked that name, and he put me with a guy named Trevor Rhodes at the time, who became Trevor Murdoch, who wrestled in WWE. And he became world champion in the NWA. So, like, he's had a lot of success. So I was a tag team with him. And it was just, he played a country boy, so they needed another country boy to be with him. So I was Billy McCoy. I went from there to calling myself the Destroyer and painted my face. And then my next one was the Unholy One, Damian Blade, where I played almost, I don't even know how to explain it. I was like a demonic character, I guess.
Okay.
And then ultimately the Butcher came from that. So yeah, developing something that connects with the fans and makes money, it's not the easiest thing in this business.
So it seems, in a sense, it's almost like being an actor or an actress, where you have to take on this personality as well and be able to play it well.
You have to be a great actor. There's a lot of great wrestlers out there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of guys that can do moves really well and really crisp, and it looks beautiful in the ring. But most of the time, people aren't wearing their T-shirt because it's like Adam Johnson. It's like he's just Adam Johnson out there doing these great moves, right? But whenever you're the Butcher and you come out with a pig head and like you have these T-shirts with the pig head, and people are like, I connect with that. Like, that's cool. I want to wear that T-shirt. So like, you just got to be able to do that. You got to be able to switch from Mr. Bill to the Butcher like that, and it's very difficult. And then you get in that persona, and you have to stay in that persona for your 20-minute match, which isn't easy. And what we're doing out there is real life stunts. Really, we're like stuntmen. People think that the wrestling ring is a trampoline, which it's not. It's steel. It has 2x12s and then a layer of padding about that thick.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, if you land on that, 12, 15 times in a match, it's basically like a car accident, I mean, if you've ever been in a car accident, you know how you feel afterwards, you're sore, your neck hurts, all that. Every time after a wrestling show, that's how a wrestler feels.
And you've had a number of concussions, haven't you?
I've had at least 12 concussions that I'm aware of.
Goodness gracious.
Right.
Is that, like, as far as the numbers go, is that pretty common for other guys that you've wrestled alongside throughout their career?
I feel like it's very common, but a lot of guys won't admit when they have it, because if you have a concussion and you miss a show, you miss a payday. I don't know if you've ever heard of Chris Benoit. He was a famous wrestler in WWE. He used the diving headbutt off the top rope, and he got several concussions from that. He would never tell anybody he had concussions. So whenever they opened up his brain after he died, which is the only way to find out what's going on, he had so many lesions on his brain, it was ridiculous from the concussions. Sadly, he ended up killing himself and his whole family, because CTE can cause all kinds of issues within your brain. So.
Yeah, what was that football movie? And Will Smith was the main actor in that, but it was chronicling the Pittsburgh Steelers and the NFL. It might have been called Concussion or something.
It might have been, yeah. But we're just now in wrestling and football and a lot of other sports realizing what concussions can do to you. It's not just, man, I had a concussion and 6 weeks later I'm fine. It leaves scars on your brain. It does a lot of stuff to you. I'm going to a neurologist right now because they cannot diagnose you with CTE until you're dead. And they open up your brain and see the lesions and whatnot. So my neurologist says, you have it, I just can't diagnose you with it, obviously, right? So I have a lot of neurological issues because of that. And I usually, whenever I meet somebody, I'm like, hey, I'm Bill. and they tell me their name. I'm like, I probably won't remember your name because my short-term memory is so bad. Like, I almost couldn't find the park this morning. Like,
it's in your town.
I'm like, he said Binkley Park. Gosh, where is that? Like, I'm like, I know I've been there. And then,
oh man,
after about a couple minutes, I was like, oh, okay, I know where it's at.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness you found the place.
I have literally forgotten my daughter's name. I've forgotten my wife's name. I mean, it just goes a lot.
Wow.
Memory loss is one of the biggest things that comes from concussions and CTE, traumatic brain injuries.
So is it just short term, or are there longer term things too that is a struggle?
It's long term. Sadly, if I do have CTE, I will probably end up with Alzheimer's or what's the other?
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, in the next 20 years, I might not even remember myself or who I'm married to or any of that. That's the possibility of my life now.
Does that ever scare you?
It scares me a lot. I'm not too manly where I can say I haven't broken down to my wife about it, because like I don't want her to have to deal with that. It's more I don't want her to deal with it than me. Because there's going to be a time where she might have to put me in a nursing facility because of it, and that's going to be difficult on her. You know, like I'm not going to know, obviously, you know, but she'll know, and that's going to be a tough decision on her.
I can imagine. You have kids as well. Are they aware of any of your issues with memory and?
They are fully aware.
Okay.
I am an open book when it comes to my kids. I don't hide anything from them, from my past mistakes and to everything. So yeah, they're fully aware, and they know whenever I'm in my depressed state, which depression and anxiety are a big part of CTE. They know how to lift me up. They know, some things to say. They know what to do. And they're very helpful. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love how you're able to approach that and be transparent with them, and they're not in the dark with that. Are there any supplements or medications that can help with the cognitive a little bit?
I just recently got put on some medication. I've been on anxiety medication probably for 10 years, and I just got diagnosed with CTE a year and a half ago. Like, so you can't get diagnosed, but you're diagnosed. So, like, I was having meltdowns and breakdowns, and it makes you sometimes where you're an angry person, too. And you can't stop the anger. It's almost like turning into the Hulk. Like, when he gets to that point where it's just too late, and I will explode sometimes. And I'm like, this isn't who I am. I don't like this. So I talked to my neurologist. They put me on some medication that's actually for high blood pressure, but it helps with depression. And I've been taking that for 6 weeks probably, and my wife sees a big difference.
That's good.
Yeah, so like a lot of it, that has helped a lot.
Wow.
I will also say, times like this is really helpful for my cognitive ability, because you asking questions makes me have to remember things.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I can help in it.
Yeah, seriously. I know a lot of people might not understand that, but like, just sitting here and you like going, hey, tell me about you starting in wrestling. Also, I have to pinpoint that, and I have to really think about it, because a lot of times, like, I will have a word here that's ready to come out, but it won't come out, or a memory, it just won't come out. So having to force myself to do it by having conversations is very helpful.
Okay, well, good. Well, another thing that I'm curious about now is knowing what you know now as far as the CTE-related symptoms that have come from wrestling. Do you have any regrets of pursuing that as a career or going about it a certain way? Or, like, if you could go back, would you not change a thing?
Man, that's a tough one, because, like, I think everybody has regrets when it comes to career paths and whatnot. Since I was a child and sitting on my dad's lap watching Hulk Hogan win the world title, I always wanted to be a wrestler, because I saw my dad look at that guy and be like, man, that guy is a hero and whatnot. So I always wanted to impress my dad.
Yeah.
And he's the reason I really started wrestling, so we could have that connection. So if I could go back, I think maybe the one thing that I would change would be I would have took it a lot more serious in the beginning than I did. I was just happy to be there, I guess. And I was never pursuing like WWE or anything like that. I happened to go to other countries and wrestle, which is really cool. But I never got that contract, where, they paid me to, travel the world. Do I have regrets in that? Yeah, because that would be nice to, tell people, yeah, I wrestled for WWE, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But the truth of the matter is, and I've told my kids this, whenever I started traveling, I did not like the traveling life. So I did not pursue it anymore because I had kids. And I didn't want to miss my kids growing up. So I decided to make it a part-time thing and got a full-time, normal job to go with it. So I don't think I really have a lot of regrets other than in the beginning, if I would have took it a lot more serious, I could have possibly made a little more money. That's about it, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's one of the coolest places you've ever traveled to in wrestling?
Well, let's see. I mean, the best one was Japan, obviously. I wrestled for FMW Japan, which was the third largest company in the country at the time. They were known for brutal, hardcore wrestling with light bulbs and barbed wire and
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, seriously?
yeah, barbed wire in on the platform. Oh yeah, they put barbed wire around the ropes. They put barbed wire on pieces of plywood.
Would anyone ever get their flesh caught in the barbed wire?
Oh yeah, man, it was
What?
brutal. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's, and going from that, like when I came back from Japan, a lot of my persona was based off of that. So I did a lot of those matches over here as well. And I enjoyed it. I know it's brutal and silly to like go through barbed wire or be hit over the head with a light tube, but I thought it was fun,
Employer asks, like, hey, what unique skills you bring to the table? Well, let me tell you.
Okay, so quick side story. I want to say it was about 3 years ago. I did a match with my best friend Ricky Cruz, and it was a mask versus hair match. And in this match, we had, what skewers are? Those little wooden skewers that you put like meat on.
Yeah.
So,
delicious.
yeah, I had 100 skewers, and he took them from me and jammed them in my head.
Actually?
So, yeah. So when they sat there and you let go loose, they just go, and they just sit there, and you look like a porcupine, right?
Hang on real quick. Your real head or your mask
Oh,
head?
no, my real head. Yes.
You're kidding.
No, not at all. I'll have to find a video and send it to you. So I had all these little bloody holes in my head, and at the time I'm working at early childhood, and I'm like, I can't walk in like this. So I had this big Band-Aid on my head, and I was wearing my hat all day, and everybody was like, what's going on? Nothing, I'm good.
What'd you do this weekend?
Yeah. So when I showed them, they're like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, it hurt really bad, I'm not gonna lie, but it looked really cool. So that kind of came from my time in Japan. I was on a pay-per-view over there, which was really awesome. They treated me amazing, the Japanese audience is way different than American audience. Like, they camp outside your hotel room. They want to take you out shopping. They want to do cool things with you. Yeah.
The hospitality.
Yes. And, you're walking down the street, and you're bigger than everybody, and they automatically just know well, I had a mohawk at the time, too. That helped. And they're like, ooh. And, they do. So, that was the coolest place I've ever wrestled, other than I toured England, and England was pretty cool as well.
Okay. Were you in Japan long enough to be able to get a feel for the culture and distinguish some differences between Japanese culture and American culture?
I was there long enough to distinguish. I mean, they flew me in for the pay-per-view. I was there I think I was there 4 days tops, if I remember. Like, the time changes and everything. I'm not sure. But when you walk down the street of Tokyo, you can automatically tell the difference because they have vending machines that you can buy underwear out of.
I've heard they have some whack things in vending machines.
Yes! I'm like, underwear? Like, who's like walking down the street like, man, I need a pair of underwear. Right? But yeah, you can buy underwear out of the vending machine. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, hey, another thing that you mentioned earlier that I thought was really neat was you said that you weren't super fond of the travel life. You have a family. As Christians, we are never done growing. At Elevated Faith, their products serve as a daily reminder to constantly strive for elevated faith, a deeper relationship with God, and to share our faith with other people. Christian apparel for men, women, and the kids. But it doesn't end there. Elevated Faith creates a variety of other Christian products, from jewelry, phone cases, and even home decor. At Elevated Faith, they are not in it for the bag. In 2025, over $85,000 were given to faith-based charities and organizations around the world, such as Feeding America, Compassion, and God Behind Bars. With over 80,000 five-star reviews, the proof is in the pudding. Go shop at elevatedfaith.com and use code IWOL15 at checkout for 15% off your order. That's IWOLFF15, IWOL15 for 15% off your next order. I'd like to sit in that for a little bit because that's where like there could be this crossroad, this fork in the road, this conflict of interest, because I can tell how much wrestling means to your heart, but for you to choose your own family, that's huge. It's like, you know, you could very easily justify doing all the traveling for wrestling because it's your passion and you can make money off it, but sounds like you went the family route instead of maybe idolizing something that you love.
I will pick my family over anything. You know, like I've been through a lot with my older kids because of divorce and things like that. So we have a connection that, like, you know, they're like, my oldest son didn't want to come to my last wrestling match because he didn't want to see me get hurt. I had to respect that because the connection we have and how much he knows that I respect him and the man that he's become. So I would never pick anything over my family. My family's just the most important thing to me. And, you know, now I have a 13-year-old and a 2-year-old, and like, I'm going to be raising kids on 65, which a lot of people will be like, oh my God, that's terrible. But I look at it as kind of a blessing because I love kids, so it's not that big of a deal for me. Like, I mean, I work with kids. Obviously, I have to like them some, right?
That'd be weird if you didn't.
Right. Yeah. I find some people working with kids and they hate it. I'm like, why? Like, why would you get into this?
Okay, I gotta test that.
You know, like, I mean, I understand taking a job for the money. I get that. But like long term, like, you know, man,
30 years.
Yeah.
So is the value of family, is that something that your parents instilled in you growing up?
Yes. My parents were, if you ever watched the show Leave It to Beaver, that was my parents. My mom was a stay-at-home mom who cooked cookies and all that stuff all day. My dad went out and made a living. He worked at Pepsi for 30-some years until he got multiple sclerosis and couldn't work anymore. What is that? It's a neurological condition. Okay. He had, due to that, he had back problems, neck problems. He had to walk with a cane. Multiple sclerosis is one of those things that ultimately will take your life at some point. It could be 20 years. It could be 2 years. I had a cousin who had it as well, and she died from it. My dad ultimately died from cancer, but the multiple sclerosis made it a little harder to fend it off, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it came from my parents. My parents, just amazing people. My dad passed away 11 years ago, and my mom lives with me. My mom had never got a driver's license, never had a job. Really? Yeah. And they lived out in the country, and she's like, I'm just going to stay here. I'm like, okay. By yourself? Like, so ultimately, you know, she's like, yeah, I probably should move in with you. Yeah. guy talking about my mom. But she goes to every wrestling show with me and sells my merchandise.
Wow.
Every show, no matter how far, no matter what, she's there. She's an amazing woman.
You're still her baby boy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, yeah. I mean, she's my sidekick, you know, like, we have the same routine. We stop by, we get some food on the way. You know, she sells my merch on the way home. We stop at the exact QT every time. So, like, you know, if and when she ever passes away, man, that's gonna affect me pretty harsh because we spend a lot of time together.
Right. So you said that you'll be raising kids until you're 65. So it'll be neat because I'm assuming more than likely you'll, at the same time, you'll be a grandfather while still raising one of your children in your house.
Well, I hope to be a grandfather.
Okay. Are your kids interested in having kids, the older ones?
My daughter, who's my oldest, she's 27. They don't want children. And I get it. Like, children are hard to raise. My son, who's 26, don't want children. And most of the reason is why, because of the harsh divorce that me and their mom went through.
Okay.
They don't want to possibly put their kids through that if something goes bad. So I hope to be a grandparent. Maybe my 13-year-old someday.
Sure.
Maybe. I highly doubt my 2-year-old because I'll be, 65 when she's 18. Oh God, I hope she better not before she's 18. So she gets treated like a grandchild.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm the old guy, so I'm like, let her mess up the house. Who cares?
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that you and your wife can be a lot more chill with her than maybe some of the other kids. Now, did your wife now? Did she have a previous marriage, or are you her first husband?
She had a previous marriage. It only lasted like a year, maybe. Okay.
Barely out the honeymoon phase.
They were high school quote unquote sweethearts, kind of like me and my ex-wife, and it just he did some unsavory things, and the relationship ended. Much like my ex did some unsavory things, and our relationship ended. So we had that in common, and we had a goal of we wanted to be parents, and God gave us a lot to parent, that's for sure. So yeah, I feel like we matched up perfectly because of our past and what we wanted out of life.
Okay. So, you and I were talking earlier, and going through a breakup right now. You know, I wasn't married, but it's tough when you spend multiple years growing with someone and getting to know them inside out, and you know all their little quirks, they know all your little quirks, and once it's gone, even if you know it's for the best, it just kind of leaves this emptiness.
Yeah.
Because I think part of it is you build so much of your identity in them, and you guys almost become one. So, do you have any advice for myself or anyone else on just how to keep pushing forward, how to heal from that?
It's really tough because, like, whenever you're in a long-term relationship, you share the most intimate thoughts in your head with them. You know, stuff you would never share with anybody else. So, you my ex-wife knows stuff about me that no one other than my current wife, obviously, knows about me. You know, so like, there's always going to be that person out there who knows that, and you're like, oh, that's terrible. I shouldn't have told him that. But, you know, I feel like relationships are difficult. They're probably way more difficult in today's day and age than ever, because it's so easy to just throw somebody away. It's so easy to be like, I don't like that you do this, or, you know, whatever, and in the relationship instead of working through it. I think the divorce rate is so high because people don't work through the problems. Now, going outside the marriage, to me, that's different.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't think there's anything that me and my wife could not work on and make it work. If I had any advice at all, it would be the hard times are your best times. I know that sounds strange, but anybody can have good times. I mean, You could come out here with your wife and walk around this beautiful, lake or whatever it is. Pond, I don't know.
Pond, lake,
Yeah.
it's kind of in between. You don't know.
You could hold hands and talk about the good times and this and that, and that's kind of normal. But whenever you're going through the tough patches, whenever your husband's having neurological problems or whatever, and you can sit down and have those conversations and say, you know what, I'm with you until the end. We made this commitment. Staying with each other and committing to each other through those hard times. That's the key, I believe, to what I would consider a successful relationship.
That's great. So then I want to ask another question to kind of go alongside that. So everyone knows that problems will occur in a relationship, even the best of marriages.
Sure.
Maybe at some point considered, ending or splitting. So in your experience, can you make any distinctions on how you know this is a person that I should stay with and fight for no matter what, or hey, maybe this is a sign that we're not good? And I think I'm speaking more so for dating instead of marriage, but it could apply to marriage.
You have to have the same goals in life. I feel like me and my first wife, we didn't have the same goals. She didn't want to be a mom.
Oh, that's big.
But yeah, and I always wanted to be a dad. I'm like, that's the coolest title anyone can put on you is dad. I always thought, like someone that relies on me. And she told me, I was 16 and she was 14 when we started dating. And she always, I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to be a mom. I don't want kids. Well, 2 years into our marriage, she got pregnant. So I feel like having the same goals and sitting down and saying, this is what I want here, this is what I want there, and this is what I want out of life, and being on board with that, and you gotta have the same values. It's very tough to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't have the same values. Like, I'm just gonna go into religion. Like, if they don't have the same values in that, it's going to be a very tough road. Me and my first wife, totally different. Like, she grew up in a household that was not religious. My family, we went to church. We prayed before dinner. We did all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you have to have those same things that connect you and want that same outcome 30, 40 years from now.
That makes sense. And I don't want to dwell too long on a past relationship, past marriage, because I think it gets to a certain point where it's unhelpful, but I do want to, probe a little bit further. So sure. I know that you were in...
I'm an open book. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could just stop me whenever. But so you two were in high school when you met, or whatever. With some of these key differences that you guys had, what do you think it was about her that you liked about her in the first place? You wanted, why did you want to marry her despite some of those differences?
You want the truth?
Of course.
She was a cheerleader.
Oh, okay. So
I'm just an open book.
So pretty.
I was never the athletic guy in school. I was a funny guy. And, she took a liking to me. I picked her up on the way home in a snowstorm and took her home. Yep. So she didn't have to walk. And, next thing I knew, we were dating. So, yeah, that was the thing. It was her looks. I'm not going to lie. And I would challenge anybody, don't fall into that. Because, looks are great. Don't get me wrong. I am very attracted to my wife, right? But what's behind the looks is really what counts, because 30, 40 years from now, those looks are going to be a lot different.
Yeah.
And, that pretty cheerleader may not be that pretty cheerleader 30, 40 years from now, but you got to live with what's inside, what's in her heart, her brain. So that was what connected. And I tell everybody that. Dude, I was a chubby kid in school. Having this hot cheerleader, want to date me? You know what I mean? That's a no-brainer, right? It obviously didn't work out, because
Man, that's a shame to hear how like some relationships come to like a toxic end. You know, like I can at least like say for mine, even though we ended, I think there's a level of respect and yeah, I wish that more relationships and marriages could end with like some mutual respect.
And I will say I tried. And she may have tried for a while, but then she started putting on social media things that harmful to my kids to hear. About me, about her. And I always look to my kids. They knew those things, but she's putting it on social media for everybody else. Right, yeah. And she said it was her way of getting, her therapy. This and that. I'm like, well, go to a therapist. Go to therapy.
Yeah. Like, I don't think everybody on TikTok needs to know what happened in our marriage. Why this and that happened. Especially, why you want
Our kids, people call like, I heard your dad did this or your mom did that. You know what I mean? Like, that's silliness, right?
I understand going to like individual people, trusted friends or whomever else, but social media, it's like you're making this public declaration.
And ultimately that, destroyed
her relationship with my kids.
They haven't talked in 4 or 5 years now. Wow.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I am too. And I told them, look, don't do that on my behalf. That's your mom. And they don't even call her mom anymore. Because she don't even get a hold of them. She don't try to get a hold of them. They call my wife their mom because when you boil it down to it, she came in their life
When they were like 7 and 8, and she's
raised them. She knew
their pant size, their shoe size when their biological mom moved to Kansas City and didn't. So I feel like it probably worked out best for my family. She can spew all the stuff on TikTok she wants at this point, whatever. I don't care. I'm in a great place, and so are my kids. So.
That's good. And my parents divorced too. I know a lot of other marriages who have divorced too. I think that my parents did a real good job co-parenting me, even though they had their differences. And I know, the little I know, their marriage didn't end great, at least at the time.
Yeah.
But like I grew up and I was put in all the sports. I played like 4 different sports, and both of them would be at most of my games. And oftentimes, like they would even sit by each other.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't in a weird way. Both of them found another partner and they got remarried. But as far as you and your ex-wife, I know she moved to Kansas City. Were you guys able to have a somewhat healthy co-parenting dynamic?
Yeah.
She had kids with a gentleman that she had an open book, an affair with.
Oh.
So she had 2 kids with him, and then ultimately left him and moved on to another person as well.
Wow.
So she has a, what do you call it? Cycle, whatever.
Yeah.
So we were never really able to co-parent. She was so far away, like, any dances or anything like that. My wife got them ready for it. Got my daughter dressed for it, the hair, and she was mom, and that might be hard for my ex-wife to understand. But maybe it's not, because she didn't want kids in the first place. So maybe it's not a problem for her. I don't know. But I feel like my kids really lucked out with my wife. That's
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about it, how great of a person she is. She includes them in everything. Like, treats them just like her own. And I'm just a very blessed man.
Your wife's a good woman.
She is, man. Like, to put up with me and my shenanigans coming home, hurting from wrestling and,
right. Skewers in your head.
Skewers in my head, having to miss work because I'm hurting, getting up in the morning and like, oh, can you pop my shoulder back? And, like,
wow.
She's just, man, I cannot praise her enough. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I'd like to ask you a couple more questions about your wife maybe, but first I'd like to, I guess, briefly share something about me, and then I'll tie that into a question I have for you. So, and I don't like to talk about this a whole lot, like over a podcast, just because it's like weird for me to talk about a breakup, and I want to show respect. So like I don't share it for like any specific reason other than just because it's real, it's raw.
Yeah.
But so over the course of my time dating this young lady, she had such a positive impact in my life. And how do I put it? Like I can see so many different ways in which she made me a better person.
Yeah.
Just from like my fruits to even like my fashion and some of the clothes I wear. One of her Valentine's Day gifts to me was she totally redid my bedroom. She said I had the style of a middle school boy, and I
still do.
You know, I'm 22. Middle school was a decade ago.
Dude, I'm 49.
With the Denver Nuggets jersey.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I started eating some different foods and all this stuff. So such a positive impact, and it's one of those things where right now I think, man, she's kind of left a mark on me for the rest of my life. And I don't like, I know that I won't be hung up on her forever, but in a way I wonder if I'm always going to have some sort of love or appreciation for the rest of my life. And so then I guess I want to tie that into the question with you. Do you, and I know maybe the situation's different because the terms didn't end on such a good note, but like, do you ever find yourself reminiscing and loving or appreciating the impact that whether it's your ex-wife or an ex-relationship had on you? Because, and last thing I'll say, I look at this relationship I had, and I know that it'll prepare me so well for my future wife. So have you had an experience like that?
I think my past marriage helped with that. I don't know if I would say it helped. Like there wasn't a lot of positives in my first marriage, but looking at all the negatives that were in my past marriage, I knew to do things differently going into my second marriage. I knew things I wouldn't do. I knew things I wouldn't allow, and you know, things like that. So I guess that's a positive impact coming from negative things, right? I don't wish her any harm whatsoever. Like literally, you know, she's the mother of my children. Like there's always going to be something there where, you know, you care about that person because I watched her give birth to my children, right? So I wish her no harm. I hope she has a great life, all that stuff. So there is always something there, like, that you take from that and you keep with you. Like, if I can remember any good times with her, it was, she was also a wrestler. So,
really?
Yeah. So, like, you know, we done tag team matches together and stuff like that. So, like, you know, that I look at that like, well, that was a fun time. You know, it was fun until it wasn't, right? But there was way more negatives, and she'll probably tell you the same thing. There was way more negatives than positives, and I pull those negatives and I go, I will not do that in this marriage. And I know Sadie, my wife, is the same way. She won't pull those negatives from her first marriage, or she'll pull them and say, hey, that, you know, no, not doing that. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but I think with that, you keep that, you know, and you may keep your style because she's like, hey, you know, yeah, I quit dressing like a middle schooler, you know, like, and you may keep that going, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's positive impacts of even bad relationships or relationships that don't work. Is there any chance that this relationship could come back together?
Unlikely, because her and I have broken up twice. The first time we took a break for about 5 weeks, and we had a little bit of communication during that break. You know, we still had feelings for each other, and so we got back together. But this time around, it's been different. Like, I think if it were to come back, it would probably be years and years down the road. We haven't talked or seen each other one time since we broke up.
That's tough. Dude, that's almost like a death, isn't it?
Yes.
And I tell people all the time, like, divorce is like a death, because like they're in your life, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's no communication. So like relationships like that, like wherever you probably talk to her daily, right? Or saw her almost daily, and then it's gone. Yeah. It's almost like she doesn't exist, and that stinks. Like, that is so heartbreaking. And unless you go through it, you don't really realize what that person's going through. And I totally get it. But if you've never been through a broken relationship, you probably wouldn't understand. But it's just a lot like someone dying, and they're not there anymore.
Yeah, and they become your person too. So I think you mentioned this earlier. Like, everything that was happening throughout my day, I would tell her about. Whether it was, I send her a quick text and be like, "You'll never guess what happened today at school," or like at the end of the night when we FaceTime or when we see each other. Everything, all the highs, all the lows, every little thing. I was a para in 2024,
Mm-hmm.
and like she had a background working at an autism center, and so like I learned so much from her because she went through that experience a little bit before I did.
Yeah.
And so me working in the SPED department, like she would give me advice all the time, and I'll be like, babe, this thing happened at school, and she'd be like, hey, like, this is how you need to handle it differently.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It's lonely. And my mom says this all the time. She's like, I'm lonely. And people are like, how can you be lonely? You live with, your son, and you got family's always around. And she's like, but there's not that one person that you can confide in, who you would tell your most deepest, darkest secret to.
And her husband was my dad.
Was that guy, and he's gone. So, like, even with just a relationship of 2 years, or what you said, 2 years, right? That's, you confided in her things that you probably never confided in anyone else.
For sure.
So, like, and that's gone, and it's like a death. It's lonely.
It is like a death, and I got some buddies at my Bible study and other various places, but yeah, like I'm not texting my buddies and like FaceTiming them like every single day, and
Right.
I'm not kissing them. You know what I mean?
You did good in that outfit.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
And that's one thing that
your buddies aren't dressing you either, are they? Like, you dress like a middle schooler.
Right.
My buddies be like, "Yeah, you dress like a middle schooler." I love it.
Me too.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We have the same jersey.
I actually contemplated. So I have a City SC soccer jersey.
Oh yeah.
And I almost wore that. If I would have known you were wearing the basketball jersey, I would have wore it.
That'd have been great.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'm a kid at heart, man. That's my problem. Like I think growing up is the worst thing anybody can do. Like, I mean, you got to do grown up things. You got to have a job. You got to pay your mortgage, all that stuff. But like, man, when you stop having fun, like, that's the most. Being around somebody like who doesn't like to have fun and like bring out the
Child side in him a little bit. It's the most boring thing in the world. Like, I don't never want to be that guy. Even when I'm 80, I still want to laugh and have fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
Laughter's something I'm trying to like attain and have a heart for more of, because I love it when I can just let loose and laugh.
Yes, man. Laughter is where it's at, man. Like you can be upset, but like, here's the deal. At the end of the day, man, like, going to bed and going to sleep and thinking about good thoughts and smiling is the best. Like, to me, that's the best part of the day. When I can lay there and I'm like, oh, my 2-year-old, like, short story.
She all of a sudden
Realized
she can flirt, and it's funny, all right? Oh, my 2-year-old
daughter, right? So I'm laying there in bed at nap time, and she's right here with me. She gets up, stands at me, turns around, and farts in my face. I mean, it was a big, like,
Ratchet
pipe.
Gosh.
And she turns around, she's like, and like, I just remember falling asleep last night going,
Well, that was funny. That was funny.
so
Even though it's stank, probably.
oh yeah. But it's times like that where like, I'd rather go to sleep, thinking about the good things that happened during the day than all the bad things that happened. So
That's great. So, you're in
Education, but this isn't
something you've done throughout your entire career. When did you get into education? And
I knew a construction worker. I'm like, yeah, I do construction. I didn't. But, she's like, you've done everything. Right. I'm like, well, I haven't really. Primarily, I was in retail management. I did a lot of retail management. When the outlet center in Warrenton was open, I was a manager at Van Heusen, Black & Decker, Big Dog Sportswear. I mean,
is that where you got your middle school fashion?
That's where I got my fashion. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Whatever I got with Sadie, she's like, you were getting rid of all those Big Dog shirts. I'm like, why? I love them. She's like, they are so stupid. Okay, honey. So primarily retail management, and then I had a friend that went to church who owned a veterinarian clinic.
Okay.
And on one side of the vet clinic was an adoption center and a boarding facility for dogs. And he asked if I would manage that, and it was a whole lot more money than I was making at retail. So I was like, yes, absolutely. I know nothing about dogs, but I'll do it. So I worked there for quite some time. Ultimately, that fell apart, but that's another podcast for another day. Working for your friends sometimes ain't the best option.
Who let the dogs out?
Well, it became a church problem. Like, the church issue went into the
business aspect. Hey, we want to get rid of the pastor. I'm like, pastor, I don't like the pastor. Okay, I'm firing you. What? Oh, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the condensed version. So then I started working at a little company, and I drove buses for Horton School District at the same time.
No matter where I'm at, I always get put in a management position. I don't know if it's just my attitude or whatever, but they're like, hey, we have this position as a manager of the limo company. We'd like to do blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sure. So I took on managing a limo company.
They sold the business, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't know if I really want to work all the weekends. So then I applied at another kennel, boarding facility for dogs, and got the manager position there. Paid amazingly well. Loved it.
Then COVID hit. And no dogs were being boarded. Facility kind of shut down. They asked me, hey, do you want your release, or do you want to just kind of hang out? I'm like, I don't know if at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID, right? We didn't know if we were going back to a civilized society or whatever, right?
It's going to be apocalypse or what?
I mean, Dr. Fauci made it sound like no one was going to make it out alive, right?
Yeah. That's another thing.
Yeah. I watched him this morning. That's why I said that. He pled the fifth on everything. I played the fifth. I'm like, okay. But anyway, so that ended, and I'm like, I was on unemployment. I don't know what I'm going to do. And my wife was a paraprofessional at the time for Wright City. And I applied at Warrenton, got on at Warrenton, because she's like, you would be great. You love kids, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So, and I did. I loved it. So I was in Warrenton for 2 years. And then she's like, we have a position available at early childhood. I was like, oh, man, I don't know. I don't want to change diapers. And she's like, you won't have to change diapers. I'm like, really? She's like, oh, yeah, all the ladies will take care of that for you. Don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. Oh, Mr. Bill will take care of it. And then they're like, hey, this is our diaper. Take care of it. Sometimes it takes a while, but
that's encouragement for those who are still trying to figure out what they want to do. It took you a while, but
I was always chasing money, and I would take the next job because it paid more. And like I said, the kids paid me really good. I worked a lot of hours. I worked 60 plus hours a week, but man, that paycheck was nice, right? As you know, paraprofessional does not get paid very well. it's not even a livable wage, to be honest with you. So we had to cut a lot of things back in life, but I'm happy, even though like I don't have things that I can't just go, man, I want that and go get it now. I have to save for it or whatever. I love what I do. That's powerful. Yeah. So like money isn't everything. Like it's great to have. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, if you can go home from your job and be like, it's a cat. You need to go home and be like, man, I love my job, I love my coworkers, my boss is amazing. Like, you're blessed.
Yeah, you are blessed, and that's really. I can see where God was working in these things. So you worked at a couple different kennels. One, there was a situation where the church bled into that, and then the other, COVID hit. And both times, you liked the job, you were paid well, but something happened that forced you to look elsewhere. And if those things hadn't happened that were beyond your control, you would not have ended up in education.
100%.
Which it seems like you've discovered is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and I believe that it was a God thing. 100%. I believe I ran for a long time just trying to go, I need to make the most money I can for my family, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, like relief of like, man, I enjoy this.
It's Monday through Friday. I'm off my weekends. I got the summers off. You know,
Heck
there's
yeah.
a lot of perks to it, really. I spend the whole summer with my kids. That's just fantastic, right?
It's a real good refresher, too. It gets you into the next school year more alive.
I mean, summer school's rough. And
like you were going through it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, I do summer school for the money, all right? Because like we use that to go on vacation, that type of thing.
yeah, summer school's
rough, but the actual school year, love completely. When summer school hits, I'm like, I don't want to do it. The wife's like, you want to go on vacation? Yeah, okay, I'll get up and I'll go.
Oh my goodness! For those of you that don't know, Bill and I did summer school together this summer, so.
Rough year. And it gets rougher every year, I feel. Like, I haven't had a good year in summer school. I talk about that. They've never given me a kid that was easy.
I feel bad because I was blessed in my situation with the student I had. But
I feel like they're like, well, Mr. Bill can handle it. Like, Mr. Bill can.
you know what they say? The strongest test goes to the strongest soldier or something like that.
The weakest soldier at the end of summer school, I'm telling you. What happened to your student? Got kicked out.
He's not here anymore.
Yeah. What did he do? Well, he did this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I would hear stuff like every day. This happened, that happened. So.
Queen of the Universe.
Oh man,
It's my favorite. I don't know if you know that story or not.
No, I don't.
I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. So, growing up, did you ever play any sports as a youth or in high school, or did you have other interests and hobbies?
Man, I'm going to tell you, I've never been physically gifted.
Which kind of surprised me because you look like you're pretty physically gifted.
Okay, I would say as a child, I was not physically gifted.
It just wasn't.
I always loved basketball, and I was like, I can shoot. It was pretty good. I couldn't run the court because I was a big fella, right? Like, so it wasn't for me. All
Put
right?
you on the block.
Yeah, you just put me down there, just throw me the ball, I can get it in. But like, I never tried out because I was always insecure.
As a kid, because I was the first kid in my class to weigh 100 pounds. First kid, you know what I mean? Ultimately, as an adult, I turned out to be 400 pounds at one point. But that's a big guy, right? I was wearing 4X shirts.
And you've lost a lot of weight since then too.
Just 100 pounds. So I go between an XL and an XXL shirt now, which is amazing.
I can go to a regular store and buy clothes, right? But I always kept that insecurity with me throughout school and high school, where I just the worst thing for a fat boy is whenever they play skins in church, right? Like that was the worst. Like, I'm like, no, give me the little whatever you put up, right?
Yeah, give me the jersey.
after I graduated.
Okay.
And I would have loved. I think I would have been good at football. I was a big boy, and I think I would have been great. But it wasn't there. It wasn't an option at the time. I mean, baseball and track and basketball were the big things in Riot City. So I was the school mascot for a hot minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, because my girlfriend at the time was a cheerleader, and they were like, "Hey, we need somebody to put this on." Okay. So I did that for a little bit. But yeah, that was it. But I could be goofy under there, Sure. Yeah, I had a mask, and
Maybe that's why I wear a mask when I wrestle now. I can be my real self. No.
I do think that's interesting, man, because like going to school during COVID, I was a junior in high school once we went back to school. Like after like the spring and summer 2020, that fall we had to wear masks, and the biggest difference I noticed is when we had to take the masks off, or like when they weren't mandated anymore.
Yeah.
Because you get so used to being around your classmates and teachers with this protection, and then it feels so foreign once you took it off.
Yeah.
well, you can say things underneath that mask, and like somebody make you mad, where they wouldn't know you're saying it either, right?
For sure.
I'm sure that happened frequently. I know I did. Like,
You just mutter to the mask.
and then I'm like, oh, I can't now. They can see my lips.
Yeah, they can see my lips and my nose and my cheeks, all that. Well, hey, you were talking about you mentioned some insecurity as far as like basketball and stuff like that. Growing up, I played a lot of basketball, but I stopped playing after my sophomore year, and that was also due to insecurity as well. So for me, my insecurity was actually my hairline. And I think
Hairline?
Yeah, it's not great. I have a bit of a widow's peak, so
Okay.
I mean that's part of the reason why I wear hats. Also, I think I just look good. I know you're bald, but it is all good, and I've come to be more comfortable with myself now. But at the time, I was 16, 17 years old, and I didn't see any other guys at my high school who like had a bad hairline. And so for me, I felt like, I'm this popular kid, and I'm insecure about my hairline. In basketball, you don't wear hats. Baseball, you wear hats. That was my sport.
Covered up, yeah.
You covered up.
Yeah.
And so I felt very uncomfortable, like being in the spotlight
Sure.
with my insecurity. So it stinks because I missed out on 2 years where I would have played varsity, and I think it would have been fun.
And I feel like insecurities, like they'll take you the rest of your life, unfortunately, if you let it bother you. Like 400 pounds, I was very insecure, right? You would think after losing 100 pounds, you'd be more secure.
Really?
No, because like when you lose 100 pounds, like like your skin doesn't just go away. The fat goes away, but skin doesn't.
Sure.
Like my arms, like I have skin that that I can, unless I have surgery, there's nothing I can do with it, right?
Right.
So like the insecurities are still there from time to time, but then I look and I'm like, you know what? I'm almost 50. Why do I care what anybody thinks about my looks, right?
You're right, but it's so hard though. I just heard this quote recently, and I'm sure you've heard it too. It's the 18-40-60 rule, where when you're 18 years old, you care so much about what other people think.
Yeah.
When you're 40 years old, you don't care as much about what other people think, and then when you're 60 years old, you realize nobody's really been thinking about you at all.
It's true. Like whenever I die, no one's gonna go, I remember Bill had that skin hanging from him from losing 100 pounds. You know what I mean?
Or Ian had that hair. Like
Ian had that widow's peak, man. You remember that in school? No one's gonna say that. They're gonna be like, man, Ian was a great guy. Or Bill was, he was a great coworker or whatever. They're not gonna think about the things that you think people are thinking about.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? There might be the one outliner example.
There's always one jerk in the bunch. Always. And like, yeah, Bill was great, but man, he had that hanging skin. Like, I just couldn't get past that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it was always a stumbling block.
Yeah, as long as it's not my wife saying that, I don't care.
Oh my goodness.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always that one person who, wants to be the guy that's like, yeah, it was great, but man, that widow speak. That was rough. How do you live with that?
It was a real eyesore.
Right. I mean, I started going bald at 25.
Really?
Yeah. Like, that's young to start going bald. Like, I tried everything. I go to the hairstylist. They try to, like, you know, and, like, finally I'm like, you know what?
God.
You know, who cares? Like,
No.
I would like to be bald one day, but
I just think I'm a little too young, and so I want to try to maximize what I have.
I told my son, who's 26, he's starting to recede because he's got, obviously, my gene. And I was like, keep the hair while you can, because there's going to be a point where you shave it and you're going to try to let it grow back and you're going to be like, oh my God, that's terrible. So keep it while you can, enjoy it, but there's going to be a point where you probably just need to get rid of it. But wait till you 30.
Okay. Do you, are there any
products you use for your head? Like shampoo? Yeah. I don't even use shampoo, man. Body wash. I was gonna say, like, I always wanted to know that. Is it shampoo or body wash that bump people? Body wash, man, from head to toe. Saves you some money, I guess. That's right. The only thing I use shampoo on is this, really. Okay. And I don't even do that daily,
To be honest with you,
like, I use
like beard oils and creams and whatnot, but like I don't wash it every day.
A beard is another thing I'd like to grow. Do you have problems with food getting stuck in your beard?
All the time. There was one point my beard was like down to here, like, and my wife hates even this length. She hates it.
But like I always felt like when I wore the pig mask, like having that hair that stick out, it just made me like, you know.
Yeah.
So like I love having the beard. But yeah, man, you get food caught in it all the time, like, and it just becomes a point where like after the end of the day, it smells because you sweat, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh man, I got food stuck in there, and then just sweat. Yeah, you know. Gosh. But I look strange without a beard, so I have to have something there. I mean, you know, a good beard, I think, takes a bald person a long way, for sure. But yeah, I match trim beard, including my wife, which is what I don't have. So I think you groom it pretty well. I do. I haven't done anything to it this summer because I'm like, I just shaved my head this morning because like I'm not going anywhere. Like, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this podcast. I might as well.
Just in case I take my hat off.
Right.
Like, don't want to see my receding hair.
How often do you have to shave it?
My head, if I want it to stay like this, I'd shave it every 2 days. I normally shave about once a week, though. I let it grow out a little bit because people don't really notice. Like, and I wear a hat a lot.
Yeah.
Like, because I got sunburned on vacation because we were in the pool and I had a hat on, so the top of my head got sunburned. So I really couldn't trim it, and because I was getting all these flakes, so I was like, man, I look like I have really bad dandruff. but yeah, so I wear a hat a lot, so people don't notice I only shave it once a week. So I don't think they notice it. They haven't told me they notice anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean.
All right.
Well, hey, Bill, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your faith and your beliefs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, first off, what is your background with Christianity?
I grew up in a Pentecostal household. If you're not familiar with Pentecostals, are you? Yes, no?
No, I come from a Catholic background, but currently I'm more like Baptist and non-denominational.
Sure.
So, yeah, continue.
Pentecostal is a pretty strict sect of Christianity. A lot of the females just wear dresses. Men aren't allowed to have long hair. I mean, there's a lot of rules, okay? So I didn't wear shorts until I was 18, 19, no, probably close to 20 years old.
Was that a rule from the Pentecostal church?
Yes and no.
You definitely wouldn't be caught dead in church wearing them. Like, you would be scolded and sit out, right? Like, I remember going to church once. This girl wore a sundress, and it was like with spaghetti straps or whatever. Sure, something we wouldn't even think about twice right now. Somebody going to church in, right? And the pastor scolded her in front of the whole congregation for wearing that.
Do you think that those rules are healthy?
No, not at all. Like,
Because if she's not dressing skimpy,
Well, first of all, it was only like our third time there, right?
then here comes this guy telling her, like, hey, I can't concentrate on my preaching because, you know,
Your shoulders are out, you know.
come on, dude.
That's your problem.
It comes off legalistic, and you can
Also, if it were a serious concern, because some people could show up to
church and they are dressing a little too revealing or whatever.
100%.
You could speak the truth in love, but you don't do it that way.
pull them aside. You know, and it can't be
After, like, the third time they're there. Like, you gotta, like, let them soak in.
time with God and let Him do the conviction.
You know what I mean?
For sure, because I think a lot of the real changes will come from God.
Yeah. Because random guy telling you that you're dressed like a prostitute coming to
Church.
probably isn't going to
Sit well with.
a female, right? No,
I don't think.
And like another quick thing I could say is the first person that Jesus ever revealed himself to as the Messiah was a prostitute.
at the well. 100%. Yeah. And I think we forget those things. But going back to Pentecost, it is very legalistic.
So I grew up in a very religious household. I'm not saying it was good or bad. If I had my say, it would probably be good. Because my parents didn't go by those particular rules as tight as a Pentecostal would. Like, my mom wore, you know, pants. Like, but, you know, if we go to church, you have to wear a dress.
You know what I mean?
So, growing up Pentecostal, I always went to a Pentecostal church, even whenever I got older and started going to church. I was in the Assemblies of God.
Which is what?
A Pentecostal church.
Okay.
It was actually, as an adult, the one I started going to is now the Wright City, what do you call it?
The Church of the Nazarene?
No, it's City Hall.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the Assembly of God church in town, and that's where I started going. And the pastor's name was Paul, and I can tell you, I'm still friends with this guy to this day. Amazing guy. I knew I connected with him from the first day I went because I'm sitting out there, and he used Hulk Hogan as an analogy for.
He's speaking right to you.
Yeah, he's speaking right to me. Like, you know, Jesus came out of the grave, was like, you know, Hulk Hogan hulking up, you know? Like, I'm like, this is my guy, you know? And he's been my guy since then. Like, you know, like, he quit pastoring because of health reasons, but, like, if he started a church tomorrow, I'd be there. You know what I'm saying? So then I call myself non-denominational now because I haven't been to church in, okay, I won't say I haven't been to church because I went and checked out a church about 6 months ago, and it was just too much for me.
As in the music production or the preaching style? What do you think?
I don't mind the music because I love music, and I think if you're worshiping God in that way, like I'm great. I love it. I love good worship music. It was more I walk in and there's a coffee shop and there's you know, it's like, and there's books to buy and there's T-shirts and like it was like walking into a concert.
Was it more of a mega church?
Well, it's here in town, so I wouldn't
Call it a mega church.
Okay.
I don't want to call
fine.
out the church name. You know,
You don't have to.
I just didn't connect because it felt like, man, I'm walking into something like all this money being spent on all this stuff,
and there's people out there who are homeless.
there's people out there who their electricity is getting cut off today, and all these things. And I'm like, all this money going towards this. I don't think that's what Jesus would want us to do.
Would you like to see a little more transparency from churches? As in they put out at least part of what their budget is going to. Like, hey, you know, the pastor, the youth pastor, the deacons, they're making X amount. This much money is going into our missions and charities.
Sure.
This much is going into our bills. Maybe we do have a coffee shop, but, you know, it's only a small percentage. I don't know.
And you know, and I'm okay with all that big stuff if you're helping people.
Right.
And you can show you're helping people. But I feel like a lot of stuff that they show is like fancy stuff, like on the screen, we're like, hey, we're helping these people in Ethiopia and this and that. And I'm like, well, there's this guy standing out on the corner over here who, you know, like he's homeless and he's begging for money. Did anybody stop and help him? You know, did the church go, hey, how can we help you this week? It's great that we're sending money to Ethiopia or whatever. I love that. That's great. You know, preach the gospel to all the world. backyard.
I feel like we wouldn't have people
Claiming socialism is what we need to be if churches stepped up.
Socialism, that's a bad idea.
Horrible idea. Yeah. Socialism is terrible. It has never worked anywhere, but people are heading that way because they're like, well, people can afford this and that. But I feel like if a lot of churches would step up and take care of the needs of people, then we probably wouldn't be talking about socialism as much, maybe. I've seen the inner workings of church because I was a youth pastor, and a lot of it is just very business oriented.
And not so much Christ oriented.
Not Christ oriented, not people oriented, and I believe Jesus were here today, be flipping a lot of tables,
people using the temple as a marketplace.
Yeah, I believe he would be flipping a lot of tables, pastors making these ridiculous salaries and driving Bentleys and, you know what I mean? Like, what? Like, Jesus was on a donkey, man.
Right.
Like, that's the lowest thing, It wasn't a horse, it was a donkey.
That's a great point there.
Like, he wasn't in a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? He was in like a Yugo,
Jesus intentionally chose the donkey over a horse to lower himself, even though he was the highest.
100%. And I would respect any pastor if I pulled in and they were driving like an 87 Taurus. But when they pull in and they're in a Cadillac Escalade, big black Escalade with all the, trimmings and stuff, I'm like, bro.
Yeah. I actually heard of this larger church. It's in our area. I can tell you off camera. But I know a couple who used to go to the church, and they said that the pastor was using the church's money to take him and his family on a like pretty exotic vacation.
Sure.
I think that's messed up. If you want to go on an exotic vacation, that needs to come out of your own paycheck, not your members' tithing.
Yes, 100%.
And I just want to specify, not every church does that, but there are examples.
There are examples, and you got like Joel Osteen's and stuff like that, where you look at his house and you're like, dude. And he was like, that's just, his example is, that's just God showing me love because of what I'm doing. And I'm like,
it's prosperity gospel and it's a false gospel.
Bro, I don't remember, Peter.
Hey, quick word from today's sponsor, Christ Coffee. Every single order, 100% of the $5 shipping charge goes directly to organizations rescuing children from sex trafficking. Groups like Destiny Rescue, A21, and the Tim Tebow Foundation. And if your order hits $65 or more, Christ Coffee matches it. So $10 per shipment goes to the rescue. The beans are roasted and shipped the same day, so every bag is as fresh as it gets. Smooth, bold, no bitterness. And every cup funds rescue work. Head to Christ.coffee and use my code REBORN10 for 10% off. That's Christ.coffee, code Reborn10.
Paul, out there, showing, a Rolex.
Right.
Hey, this is what, my man Jay done for me. No, that's not where we need to be. And I think that's sadly a lot of churches are doing that. And that's why people are souring on Christianity. That's why I'm soured on the church building. It's not the people, it's the building. I'm not soured on God by any means. I love Jesus. He's in my heart. But to step into one of those buildings, I start being judgmental, and that's a terrible way to be. So I try to stay away because I'm like, oh my God, they're selling. I know that T-shirt costs $3, and they can sell it for $30 to the congregation. Why are we doing this?
No, I get that. And the church that I went to for a couple of years while I was with my ex-girlfriend, initially when I started going, I had a very hard heart towards tithing, and just because I had thought of some of those examples.
Sure. But
then I came to see the fruits of that church, and I could see, wow, they're actually doing so much for the community. They really don't have all the bells and whistles. So my heart began to soften because I could tell that this was a church that I could trust. But now I'm still going to church every week, just not there anymore.
Sure.
And so I'm going off to college this fall. I'll be looking for a church down there. And yeah, one of my prayers is I hope I can find a church that I can trust, because, I think a lot of people think about this. They have a lot of other bills to pay.
Yeah.
And so if they're putting some of their hard-earned money towards the church or any charity, they want to make sure it's going to be spent appropriately. Yeah.
We probably don't want to dig into tithing and how I feel about tithing.
Okay. Would you like to?
You want to?
Sure.
I'm not looking to change your perspective on it, but tithing is not New Testament in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like the church has been using that as a crutch to get people to give 10% of their income. We're told to be a cheerful giver, but the whole reason that tithing was never giving your money. They would give food and stuff like that to go into the storehouse for people to come get. And it would also take care of the person who was over the church, the priest or whatever, to take care of them. Tithing is never New Testament. And I feel like a lot of pastors get up there and preach about giving 10% of your income when it's not even in there.
I can think of something in Scripture, and I believe it'll support your point in many ways. So this is a parable that it may have been a parable that Jesus told, or it may have just been a story. It is New Testament, but there were two different people. One was this very wealthy person, and he gave like 10% of his income or something like that to the church. And it was a lot of money because he was a very wealthy person. But it was really only a small fraction of what he had. And then there's this poor woman, and she gave like 2 small coins. Yeah. It was, by today's measure, maybe a couple pennies, just a couple coins. It's nothing. Mm-hmm. But that's all that she had. Mm-hmm. And she gave everything she had, everything she owned, because of the true heart of wanting to give.
Gave it happily.
She gave it happily and cheerfully. Yeah. And that's the woman. I think Jesus said that's the one who will be rewarded.
Because the Jesus that I know wouldn't sit down and go, I'm only worth 10% of your income. All of your income is his. Yeah. If you really think about it, it's his. Like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his sacrifice, right?
Right.
You wouldn't be a Christian if it wasn't for him going to that cross. So you giving what your heart is telling you to give is way more important than a percentage. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Let's just say I make $100 a week, and I'm like, well, biblically, I'm supposed to give $10, right? Am I being cheerful about that, or am I just following a rule?
Correct. You're following a rule, and no, I really agree with what you're saying here. I don't think that you're going to hell just because you don't tithe. Absolutely not. I will say tithing has a purpose because the church does have to make money. The pastor does have to make a living.
Yes. The
deacons and anyone else, if that's their only job, they do have to make a living. The church, you still have to pay bills, the water, electric, all that. So the money still has to come from somewhere. It's not going to grow on trees.
100%.
But like you said, we shouldn't give because, I have to do this. The inner heart should want to. That's why you should give.
100%. And I can tell you where tithing went awry with my son-in-law. He grew up in a very strict Pentecostal household to the point where his dad wore long sleeves year-round because he thought God told him he shouldn't show his arms. Okay?
Interesting.
Very interesting, right?
Yeah.
They would pay their tithes first out of every paycheck to the point where they had no money to feed their children. So they would go to pantries and whatnot to feed their kids. And sometimes there was electric would get shut off. Sometimes, so people take that I'm not going to go to heaven if I don't give my 10%. To the point where they're going to sacrifice feeding their children, and I can't believe Jesus is like, yep, that's the sacrifice I want you to make for me. I don't want you to feed your children. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So it turned him from God. son-in-law is not a believer anymore, and he was my right-hand man whenever I was a youth pastor. But it's instances like that that have turned him against it. And I believe stuff like that. If you talk to an average person, they're like, oh, yeah, well, if I go to church, I got to get 10% of my income, and I got to follow this rule. I can't drink a beer. Or I can't, smoke a cigar. Or, there's so many unwritten rules that people don't want to do it, that a lot of those rules aren't biblical in any sense of a word. They're just that church made a rule.
And that's relationship versus religion.
100%.
So once upon a time you were a youth pastor. Was that in a Assembly of God?
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to talk at all about why you no longer do that and why
Church hasn't been a consistent thing. I mean, I guess you've already touched on it a little bit here.
Well, there's a lot of things. Like, I want to give one instance of like how like
church can destroy
like
a pastor? Okay.
so in the Assemblies of God, whenever you become a pastor, they give you this little card.
Okay. And it says, if you have any problems whatsoever, like with drinking or pornography or
Wanting to do this, or whatever, call us.
okay,
You know what happens the moment you call them?
What's that?
They fire you.
Hmm.
Yeah. I knew several. It can happen to anybody. It can literally happen to anybody on this planet that can fall into any kind of sin, right?
oh, for sure. And especially like pornography.
Let's just take that for instance. Like there's, like it's everywhere. So if a pastor, like, oh my God, I've fallen into this, I need to talk to somebody, he would call that number on the card. He's gone.
So did they, in this process, did they ever make an effort whatsoever to help them out with that sin?
No, they just replace it.
So,
Think about that for a moment.
now on the one hand, I can understand where they're coming from because they don't want a leader to be walking in darkness, but on the other
Sure.
hand, I'm shocked by the lack of effort to help that brother out.
But wouldn't it be a better thing to pull them aside, get them counseling, get them help? I don't even. Is it really even something that you should come in front of the congregation and be like, man, I got a problem with pornography, whatever, or drinking or whatever? You should, if they're giving you a card and saying, hey, this is, we can help you, issue private help. Maybe something like, hey, I'm going on a sabbatical, taking a vacation, something like that.
I can really get behind the sabbatical and healing, and then maybe it's one of those things. And let me know what your thoughts are on this. Where I'm taking the sabbatical because I'm having trouble drinking, or I'm walking in some sexual immorality. But once you've been freed from that sin, you could come back. What's your thoughts on that?
100%. Yeah, I feel like Satan hits leadership in any way he can.
Leadership and pastors' kids. That's another big one.
Yeah, 100%. Because like they're the people leading others to Christ. That person has been set there to preach the gospel. So is Satan going to go after the guy that's going out on a Friday night at the bar getting drunk and driving home? He's already got him. He don't need him. What does he need?
The one he doesn't have.
Yeah, he needs the top guy. Because if the top guy can screw up life, then the people underneath him are going to see that and go, well, if he can screw up life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like as church leadership, he's after you nonstop. So there's going to be a point where somebody probably makes an error in judgment, lets him sneak in. And to just totally throw a person away because of that, no, I'm not on board with that. I'm on board with getting them help, taking a sabbatical. I don't even know if the congregation really needs to know the aspects of it, because when you come out and say, brother so-and-so, pastor so-and-so is going to be on sabbatical because he has an issue, there's going to be all kinds of talk what the issue is. Rumors, is he cheating on his wife? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it maybe needs to be kept in confidence. But I've seen a lot of pastors fail because there was not people around them helping them in those situations, as opposed to going, what? You mean you had a beer? I'm going to go tell Sister So-and-so who's going to tell the rest of the congregation. Bro, like anybody can have a moral failure at any point in time.
That's a really difficult position to be in when you're the person that everyone comes to for answers and help. You're that guy. You're that person. And for you to be struggling, I'm sure it could be so hard when you're the one who's always pouring into other people's cups. There's not as many people who can pour back into yours or understand.
There's nobody. I can tell you from experience, there's nobody. Even the other pastors, like, they don't know what you're going through privately, and you're not going to tell them. Like, I was my kids' youth pastor, my 2 adult kids. And how can you be a youth pastor to your own children? That was difficult because they would see me in the middle of the night with the refrigerator open in my underwear. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
right.
Cussing because maybe we didn't have milk or something. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is my youth pastor? Yeah. So, like, I feel like everybody's watching you under such a close microscope whenever you're in leadership that you're bound to have some kind of failure because you, man, I guess this really digs deep because I've seen so much of it where men have failed because there's no one there to pick them up. They just want to criticize them instead. And, man, that's terrible to do to anyone. Like, a moral failure of, like, having an affair on your wife or whatever, that's totally different, right? I mean, a pastor's like having an affair with the secretary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be pastoring.
You're gone. I'm not sure you should be pastoring, period.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But, you know, if the pastor comes to his deacon and is like, man, I want to tell you, like, I had a rough night Friday night, and I drank a Bud Light. You know? Like,
really went wild.
Right? Is that really worth going, dude, you can't pastor this flock? You know what I mean? And he did it in the privacy of his own house, where no one saw it, you know? So, I just feel like there's so many judgmental aspects of people within the church thinking the leadership is like, man, they can do no wrong. God has anointed them. They can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Like, how... look at King David.
Oh, King
Holy
David.
moly.
King Solomon, yeah. I mean, King David sent one of his friends to death on the front lines because the lust for his wife was so powerful.
Dude, he was watching her from his window.
Yeah.
Nude. Like, you know? And he's like, I don't really like that husband now. Let's get rid of him out of the picture.
Right.
And look what God did, man.
Yeah, I mean, he has a kid with her, and then the kid dies.
Yeah. But look at the big picture of it. You know what I mean? Like, God can take anybody from the pits and make them just someone you can look up to, and even with the moral failures they had, be like, that is someone I want to look up to, but I need to also be their friend in case they backslide. You know?
Right, for sure. I noticed some of these, and I'm not a pastor. I don't work at a church, so I don't even want to, like, exalt myself to that level, but me having a Christian podcast, there is some sort of, like, leadership there. I'm still speaking to people, whether it's solo episodes or I'm having these conversations, and there's a lot of accountability with that. I'm not this perfect person. First off, I have a past, but even now that I'm following Jesus, I still have temptations. I still fail. And so, like you mentioned that leaders in the church, they're like being watched under a microscope, and that resonated with me a little bit because sometimes, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but there's this serious accountability where, man, like, I have to make sure I'm beyond reproach.
Yeah.
And I don't walk into these things because, for one, I want this podcast and this ministry to be fruitful, but two, I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I know that if I were to step into some big moral failure, I would, even if it's a sabbatical, I would have to step away from this podcast.
Sure.
And I don't want to do that. I want to continue doing this stuff, but even if I were to make a moral failure and, like, no one else knew, like, my roots are deep enough to where I couldn't keep doing it.
I also want to tell you that there's also going to be those people who are going to watch this podcast and they're going to say, even with the littlest things, judge you on it. Like, those two guys are talking about Jesus while smoking a cigar.
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
There's
I know.
going to be that one guy who's going to judge you for that. And you know what? That's not mine and your relationship, dude. That's mine and his relationship to deal with, not you. You know, I don't. So it took me a long time to get past that, where I felt like I didn't have to sneak around to do things that I felt wasn't against God. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Like it was against some people because of their belief system and what they believe God cares about. But I don't think me and you sitting here smoking a cigar, talking about God, I don't think God's going, they're going to hell.
Right.
I'm sending them straight to hell, man. They're smoking a cigar. I know they love me. But they spent their life loving me. But you know what I mean?
We're not getting drunk. We're not smoking marijuana.
No.
It's nicotine.
Yeah, but I feel like there's always that judgmental person out there who's going to say something.
Yeah.
And I get that. I get that sometimes when I smoke. Whenever I do my podcast, I smoke cigars and I drink whiskey.
I see that. Yeah.
Okay. It took me a long time to ever let people know that I drink whiskey because of the judgmental aspect of it. Because I have a lot of people who I went to church with and that kind of thing, and I know they were going to look down their nose at me. But I'm not getting drunk. I'm not going out driving. I'm just sitting there sipping whiskey.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Whether people want to believe it or not, the grape juice that they drink, it was fermented back in the day, okay?
Right.
Like wine was wine still. So it's all tools are all in how you use them, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I smoked a cigar with a youth pastor a few weeks ago during our 4th of July party, you know, and we were still sober minded and
Yeah.
And
it hurt nobody, right?
No,
right. So like I feel like all these rules that we put in effect, a lot of it doesn't matter. It's what's in that book matters 100%. I feel like a lot of people go into the Old Testament that was written for the Jews and can pick anything out and go,
Sure.
Oh my God, you're wearing mixed fabric. Well, that's not for us. Okay, buddy, calm down.
Right.
And they'll judge you without knowing. The reason that Jesus went to the cross is because we can't live up to expectations. Like we're going to fail daily. So thank God that he did that for us, right?
Yeah, exactly. You would see. So the Pharisees, for instance, especially in New Testament times, I think there were 613 total laws. And they would follow those laws almost perfectly to a T. But who were the people that sent Jesus to the cross? The Pharisees.
Yes.
The priests. They became so legalistic that their hearts were hardened to the actual Savior, the one that they were preaching about.
Well, because they expected this guy in armor to come and and no, he came humbly, like we said, on a donkey.
Yeah.
And was not, a quote unquote fighter that they expected, and gave himself up. Wow. I mean, to think about that, if we would have leadership today like that, can you imagine?
The world would be such a better place.
If the leaders of our country went and sat down their armor aside and sat at the table and go, why are we fighting? Why?
Right.
Why can't we just love each other? And your country do what it wants to do, and we do what we want to do, and just, love each other.
It's like such a pride shoot-off.
It is. The whole thing is pride. Like, Vladimir Putin. Oh, I'm Russian, and I'm President Trump. Life will be American. Why can't we just let our guard down and just be humans for a second?
Why are we fighting in wars, anyways? What's it over?
It's always about money. Always about money.
Money, maybe control.
Control, yeah. And at the end of the day, no one's going to ever win. No one's going to win.
It'll just keep going.
Yeah. And in a political aspect, I understand why, to a degree, why we're at war with Iran because of this and that. But at the same time, I'm like, are they really doing anything? other than they've done the last 30 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I go back and forth on it. You know, like I don't like to see innocent people die. As long as we keep to bombing these little things here and don't kill anybody, okay, I'm cool with that, I guess. But man, I don't want to see innocent people die ever.
No. I'm curious. Are there any other religions that you've practiced at any point throughout your life?
No. And even whenever I considered myself turned away from God, I always felt him in there. Like, and I can't explain it. My grandpa, whenever I was a baby, looked at me and said, "You're going to be a pastor." Weird thing to say to a baby, right? And he was ultimately right. I became a pastor and whatnot. But I felt like maybe him saying that, he saw something in me. Because I've always felt God. Always. In every situation. Like, when my dad passed away, it killed me, man. And I'm like, I turned on God. I'm like, you took my dad. Why would you do that? He's my best friend. Right? And it took me about a year, and I came out of it, and I'm like, what? My dad was 70 years old, and he was a 4-pack-a-day smoker, and cancer got him. God didn't take him. He took himself.
God didn't tell your dad to smoke cigarettes.
Nope. 100%. It was on him. But I've always, when people say they don't feel God, it feels weird to me, because I've always, in every instance, just felt him in my heart. I feel like sitting here today with you, like I feel him here. Like I look out there and I'm like, man, so beautiful. Like, yeah, this was probably man-made, but man, can you imagine what heaven would look like if man made this?
Right. So much better.
Right. So like I've never practiced or thought about any other religion, because I feel him, and I feel like he directs my path. Sometimes I don't follow, but I feel him telling me the right thing to do. Whether or not I do it or not, sometimes it's on me, but I definitely feel him every day.
That's amazing. So who is Jesus to you?
My Lord, my Savior, the one thing that matters in life. Like I said, I love my kids more than anything, but above my wife and kids and my family, it's Jesus, man. Like, because I wouldn't have them if it wasn't for him and his sacrifice. And man, he's almost like my tour guide through life, if I let him.
If you let him, that's big.
I let him, yeah. I just feel like he's the guy that, I say guy, but he's the person that if I let him, he will grab my hand and take me where I need to be. A lot of it's up to me, but I hear that voice and I have to recognize it, and I'm nothing without it.
Amen. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to do something my own way, and I thought that a specific path was meant for me, and then that door is closed, and maybe that path, whether it's a job or, I think that woman's beautiful, and we kind of hit it off in a conversation, or whatever else, and then the door closes, and I'm like, God, what the heck? I thought that was just for me, but it wasn't, and then you see down the road, oh, okay.
You have to really listen closely, and I can give you an example of this. Whenever I was a youth pastor at Freedom Church in O'Fallon, I was working in a mailroom at the time, and I distinctly heard God say, "You need to quit your job." Well, okay, this is my income, and I was like, told my wife, I need to quit my job. I'm going to youth ministry full time.
job that, and I didn't listen. I quit the job that was, paying my bills. And it turned out that
Particular church fell apart.
because of a lot of crazy stuff, and I didn't listen to God. And I saw stuff that I probably shouldn't have seen and been a part of because I didn't listen. So you gotta listen.
And then pray and hope to hear the rest of the sentence, because I can tell you,
Oh man.
I thought I was like, man, yes, this is God setting me up for, do youth ministry full time, blah, blah, blah. No, he was like, dude, you need to get out of this church.
Do you have any advice on how to listen for God's word better? That's something I struggle with. I think James chapter 1, I forget which verse. It might be verse 19. Anyways, James chapter 1, it instructs us to be slow to speech, slow to anger, and quick to listen. And that's something I'm actively working on. Is I'm very quick to speak or do something that I think,
Me too.
oh, like that's logical, that's wise.
Sure.
But it's listening for God's voice and instruction, and that doesn't always come like that. So do you have any advice on how to listen for God?
I actually do. And this just started happening to me recently. I started going through therapy because of my neurological problems, and I wanted to get rid of my anger and all that stuff, right? And the woman I go to is not a Christian. I didn't realize that until like my second session in, whenever she's like, I have these tapes I want you to listen to, and it's Buddha and this and that. And I'm like, I didn't feel right about it, right? So I'm like, I wonder if there's anything that would be more Christ-oriented that, she's trying to get me to listen to, but it's like Christ-centered instead of Buddha. So I started looking at these podcasts and whatnot, and then ultimately I'm like, you know what? She really wants me to just like chill and meditate, right? So she's like, listen to this as you go to sleep, you'll wake up better, blah, blah, blah. So I started listening to worship music in my headphones when I go to sleep every night, okay? And that's when he starts talking to me, because I'm putting my full focus as I'm laying there listening to people praise and worship him, and I can get that one-on-one time with him, where throughout the day I can't, at work I can't, with a 2-year-old running around, but in that 10-15 minutes I'm sitting there listening, I believe that's when it happens. I believe you have to find that quiet place that's just you, where he can speak to you. And it's weird that it came from somebody who wanted me to, listen to Buddha.
Sure.
But I think there the next time I was like, hey, thanks for that recommendation. I didn't use it, but
I felt like I was cheating on God if I was
using that. So I
found one that, was Christ-centered, and she's like, oh, that's great.
Probably thought I was crazy, but whatever. And I was like, it really worked for me. I was like, I lay there and I hear God speaking to me, and it's helped my anger issues. So, great.
Very good.
Yeah.
I also speak with a counselor over the phone once a month, and he is a Christ-centered counselor, so I love that style because he's helping me through some issues, but he's also putting scripture at the forefront, and he's even sent me some free books that are Christian-related, but there's this one book called Every Thought Captive, and I think it digs deep into a lot of your past stuff, these strongholds that you've erected over time, traumas and stuff like that, but it gives a biblical center instead of more of like a worldly center. So yeah.
Right.
When I was in high school actually, and I was playing high school baseball, meditation is something I got big into, but I wasn't really a Christian at the time, and so I was big on like clearing my mind and meditating on nothingness rather than meditating on God's word,
Right.
and what He says.
Yeah, the word meditation, like I almost hate that word, because like I feel like people look at meditation and like you're definitely not using it for anything Christ-like. But I feel like you can blank your canvas and meditate and let God come in and paint the canvas in your mind, right?
Ooh, I think that's a bar.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so when I say I'm meditating, like I'm letting God, I'm blanking the canvas, but he's coming in and he's filling in with his paint. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look at meditating as a bad word, as some people would. I look at it as, man, I need to clear my mind for God to come in and do his thing.
A lot of noise can distract us.
Yeah, 100%.
There's so much noise.
And now my goal with the therapist is, at some point, she might become a Christian.
Wow.
She hears it enough, right?
Yeah.
How he's changed my life through her, through a Buddhist.
So it sounds like you're sort of filtering out what she's telling you.
I never thought in a million years that secular person who doesn't like Christ or believe in Christ would help me in my walk with Christ by me going to therapy for my anger issues. But here we are. Here we are. And like my kids are like, how's therapy going? I'm like, it's going great. Like I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm like, she's not a Christian. And they didn't want me to go to a Christian counselor because they had their own issues with, the church and whatnot. And
Okay.
so I literally was not looking for someone who wasn't Christian. I just, okay, this is what my insurance pays for. This is who I'm going to. And it happened to be this woman. And I'm like, I got you, God.
I know what you're doing. You help me. You also help her.
Right.
How cool is that?
I mean, if you really sit back and think about the things that God does.
Like, he's helping me with my issues. And here's this lady trying to push Buddha and all this weird nonsense on me. And I know it's nonsense. And I keep telling her how Christ has done these miraculous things through her therapy.
Interesting.
Bingo!
It's weird how God can work in various scenarios. Like yesterday, I was changing the oil in my car, and there's this drain plug at the bottom of your oil pan, and you have to take that out for the oil to drain out, so then you can put new oil in.
Drain down your arm.
That's happened before, and I've ruined some clothes. But no, yesterday it got stripped, and so I tried like 3 different tools, but I couldn't get the drain plug out. And what should have taken maybe 20 minutes tops, man, like I was there for hours.
Yeah.
And so eventually I waited for one of my neighbors to come home because my parents were like, hey, wait till he gets home. Yeah. He's got like all the tools. He might have something. So it's like 6:30 at night. I go up to his house and I was like, hey, I'm having this issue. Would you mind helping me? He's like, yeah, sure, buddy. I'll go grab a couple tools. Yeah. And I want to say I'm super grateful for him because he works in concrete all day. And so, like, I knew he had been working outside all day.
Tired.
I could tell that he had probably showered, changed his clothes. And I know for me, if I'm working all day, once I shower, like, I don't want to do anything
I'm
else.
done for the day, yep.
I'm done.
Yep.
And so anyways, he comes over, and he gets underneath my vehicle, and he's got this tool we didn't have. And he was able to get the stripped oil plug out so the oil could drain. And when he gets out from underneath my car, I can see he's sweaty. He's got grease on his arms, and he had probably already showered after a long day. So I'm super grateful. But we just had like a brief and neat conversation, and I can see where the Lord used this dang stripped plug that I couldn't get out to lead me and my neighbor to have some sort of connection.
Yeah, it's cool how he works that way. We have this lady that comes to all the wrestling shows, and she will sit there and she will draw this amazing picture of you, okay? So she would draw this, like, I'll send you a picture of it, but it's me in my wrestling gear, and she just gives me, I mean, she's the most amazing artist I've ever seen.
Never had one
Day
day
of art school, nothing. And she just gives these to
the wrestlers because she appreciates what we do in the ring. And I'm like, I was like, hey, can I get your Venmo? And she's like, yeah, but you don't have to pay me for this. I'm like, I got you. So I sent her some money. And to me, that's my connection with this lady. I want her to see that as I talk to her and the God-given ability that she has.
Yeah.
Like, there's always that, you can look, there's a connection. And, like, all these other guys, they're not going to pay her. That's on them. I don't care. If she wants to give it freely, that's great. But I felt in my heart I needed to give her something to open up that door so I could say, man, you can use this talent in so many different ways for God. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, she's just an amazing artist. So
sometimes it's just a crack where you're like, yeah, I think I can see, where this can go, and same way with, the like, it's just those small things that you just gotta go, okay, I see where this can go.
Yeah, really, when you think about it, I think life really isn't our own. Yes, we have the freedom to make whatever choice we want, but do you think that God has put like specific traits and ambitions and talents within us, and then will use us to help various people along the way?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I believe I have the gift of making people smile. I know that sounds weird, but like,
I'm a funny guy, right? Or at least I think I'm funny.
people tell me I'm funny. They have fun around me. And I think if they see that you can have fun and still love God, still be a Christian, and it's not all about a bunch of silly rules and, this and that, I believe that's what God's given me. He's given me the ability to love, entertain. Even at wrestling shows, man, there was I used to come out to Christian music. You know what I mean?
Heck yeah.
Dude, I came out to Toby Mac for the longest time. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Skillet. I came out to Skillet, and a lot of people don't know who those bands are or that they're Christian, and they look them up and like, oh, wow.
I just heard of Skillet 2 weeks ago. I did a podcast with another guy, and he was telling me about Skillet. Like, who?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like those little moments like that where you can just show God in it, and you don't even have to speak, and that's the greatest thing ever. Because there's maybe in front of 500 people, you could reach that one person where like, man, I really like that guy's song he came out to. What is it?
That's a Christian artist? Wow.
And he puts it on his.
Yeah.
And you play it over again. Guess what? He's hearing the gospel.
There you go. It's a great way. It's a good door opener.
Yeah. And you don't have to say a word. That's what's great about God. Sometimes you don't have to say a word. Like, it's in how you interact with people, or, opening the door for somebody, or, just showing love. Like, that's opening up to see that God is there.
That's something I'm trying to progress with as I further my walk, is I will preach the gospel, but I know that will land on some deaf ears, and some doors will be slammed. And so, as you said, what are other ways that you can plant that seed for the gospel without just preaching it? It sounds like sometimes just being quiet is all it takes. Just being who you are.
Setting the example. I think a lot of times as Christians we maybe talk too much instead of showing. And then there comes a time where you can talk. Does that make sense?
It does.
If you show love, eventually they're like, man, why are you such a great guy? Why are you, so happy all the time? Well, this is why I'm happy. This is what's in my heart. And I just feel like, even myself, I talk too much sometimes about, you know what I mean? Like, instead of just letting it play out, because I believe there's a time for everything that God has set forth. And sometimes I can be pushy. Sometimes I just need to go, let God direct me, instead of just being like, okay, I'm going to force this on you. You know anything about God? It's difficult. It's a tightrope.
It is. It's a tightrope. Well, Bill, I have
One more faith-based question, but
Okay.
before I get to that, I'd like for you to share a little bit about your podcast, because you have a podcast as well. So,
Yeah. I have a podcast with my friend Shane Jones, who I've known for 27 years. He is also a former professional wrestler by the name of Scar. His career sadly ended whenever, and he's okay with me telling this story, because this happens to a lot of people. We don't hear it. He rolled over in the middle of the night, fell off the bed, and hit the corner of the
The nightstand?
The nightstand.
Oh, no.
And come to find out, that happens multiple times to a lot of people.
What the heck?
Yeah, it has ERs see a lot of it. So he lost his eyesight in his left eye, I believe.
Is he completely blind in the left eye?
Completely blind. There's nothing there in that
Whoa.
eye. So he had to retire from active wrestling. So we retired about the same time. So we're like, oh, man, like we like to entertain. What are we gonna do? And he's like, you think about starting a podcast? I'm like, well, what are we talking about? He's like, well, I'm very liberal. You're very conservative. What do I, something we don't see much of that. I'm like, and he's like, what about agree to disagree? Because we need more of that. I'm like, dude, I love that. Yeah.
Like, if we could just come together and say, I like this,
I don't like this.
you don't like the blah, 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 and at the end go, you know what, I still love you. And that's our podcast, Agree to Disagree, and late tonight is actually the first time it's actually going to be on the Facebook page it's supposed to be on, because you have to have a Facebook page for 60 days before you get live stream. I'm glad to hear that, because I've been having to jump through some hoops. It's just that I have to go to Shane's page, and I've been friends with him, so I have all that. So he told me last night that he thinks today is the night, so hopefully we're keeping it kind of light-hearted on this particular one, where I wanted to do the
10 greatest rock bands of all time.
all right, just to see where we agree to disagree, and I feel like we talk about politics a lot. I don't want to
just like be just all the time.
so
Tonight's gonna be a little lighthearted and kind of fun. So
Sure. Have you guys ever thought about putting out a poll on Facebook and, asking the audience, like, hey, what do you think topics, what do you think we should talk about?
it's a great idea.
he is the tech guy in the relationship.
So I'm going to tell him that's a great idea, because I wouldn't know how to do that. But yeah, I like that idea a lot. That's good.
You guys have had some good topics. I was just listening to the gun control one earlier this week, and I like to see how both of you in that episode really found some common ground and agreed on things.
And like, I just feel like we've got to a place in society where people think if you have a gun, you're out to kill somebody, and it's like, that's not the case. I just want to protect my family. You know what I mean? And I have that right to,
Because of the Constitution.
and the Bill of Rights. So you can't take that away. I'm sorry. And if you watch that podcast, we ended up agreeing on a lot of things. It's just how you get there is a different way.
Yeah, for sure. I saw that you guys did one on, I think, transgender rights. I wasn't able to watch that. Were there any good takeaways from that episode?
I think we both believe the
Same way.
We don't want men going into women's bathrooms. I think where we disagreed on was he believes it's such a small section of the population that it really doesn't matter as far as men competing in women's sports. When I say if it affects one woman, that's enough for me, right? So I think that's where we disagreed on it.
Was like, well, it's such a small section of the population.
Like, it's only going to
Affect
this amount. Well,
Yeah, but that is still affecting that amount. Like that could cause my daughter, if she, is competing against a male for a scholarship,
Yeah.
to not get that scholarship. That's enough for me, right?
It was either the high school state championship or the college national championship in swimming, and there was a like a biological male transitioned to female, and they won the female championship over all these other females, and people were going nuts about it because, biologically it's a male. And
Well,
what are your thoughts?
at the Olympics, 2-3 years ago, where the male boxer.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and they, she's female, blah blah blah, and turns out it was a male.
So biological male turned to female.
Yeah, and I just think that should be allowed. I'm sorry, I can hit harder than a female.
Especially boxing.
Boxing, grappling, wrestling. I mean, at a young age, my son
wrestled, I think when he was like 11.
12 years old. And it wasn't such a big deal for him to wrestle a girl at that point. 11, 12 years old. Now, when you get 13, 14, 15, that's a little different to me. First of all, there's places you shouldn't put your hands.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a 14, 15-year-old boy should be a lot stronger than a 14, 15-year-old girl. So, that's just, it just doesn't bode well for me, with having a daughter. I think I don't want her subjected to that. So I just think as a society, we're just like, you know what, whatever, just let people be people. And you know what, if people want to transition, I don't care, until it affects society in a bad way. And that's a bad way it's affecting society, is whenever we think males should be able to compete with females.
I agree, and I'm mostly concerned, as I think you are too, about the safety aspect of it too.
Yeah.
And something we discussed earlier briefly was a male could even just dress up as a female, say, "Oh, I'm a female. That's what I identify as," and then they go into a female bathroom and they're perverts.
Sure, and I'm a firm believer, and I said this on the podcast, and I'll say it on yours, that most of the people who are gay, lesbian, or transsexual had some kind of issue with the child, where someone touched them inappropriately or did something they shouldn't have done to that child, and it affected them into their adulthood. If you look at statistics, that is
God's honest truth, that something has happened in that person's childhood that caused them to be this way. So we can say, hey, they're born this way, or blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. I think, and my take on that as well is, even if you're born that way, guess what? God said you need to be reborn. You need to be born again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I was born in sin, you were born in sin, for sure. We have sinful thoughts, but guess what? I always tell, and my wife hates me saying this, but as a male, we, in our bodies, we feel like we should go populate the world. Like, when we see a beautiful female around, let's just call it what it is. We want to be with that female. Yes, we do. 100%. That is embedded in us through sinful thoughts and whatnot, and so even if I was born that way, I've made a choice not to be that way. I've made a choice that I want to be in
a monogamous relationship with my wife,
and not go out there and be with every woman I see. I don't think that there's
any difference in being a homosexual,
if you're born
that way, like they say, and living a lifestyle or not living a lifestyle.
You can choose to live the sinful
Lifestyle, or you can choose to be born again.
Tremendous.
I mean,
Yeah.
like
That's another bar.
yeah, like I feel like there's so many things we're born to, like, in sin that looks great for us to do, that we need to do that. Well, you can make a choice not to. You can. I make a choice every day. They say you fall in love, but I don't believe that. I think you choose to love.
Okay.
Because there are times where I'm sure my wife doesn't like me. Right?
What?
Yes. 100%.
What do you mean?
And there's times where I'm like, oh gosh, I choose to love her every day. Choose. It's not that, like, I can't walk away. I could walk away. I don't want to walk away. I'm choosing that. You choose what you want to do in life. You choose the lifestyle you want. I know guys that go out there and they sleep with women every weekend, right?
And I understand the temptation.
The temptation is there, yes. But you know what? I don't look at them any different than I look at the female who goes out there and sleeps with every man. To me, I'm sorry, that's a disastrous thing to do in your life. But you're making a choice to do that. You can make the choice to find one person and spend the rest of your life with, but you're choosing not to. So,
all right. Well, Bill, I'd like to talk for a number of hours beyond this, but I know your time's valuable, and my drink is starting to filter through me.
Man, you're the young one.
So I have one final question for you on this episode. All of us, our time is finite the right word? Or limited? I was just trying to think.
Yeah, very limited.
Limited. So eventually our time on Earth will come to an end. If you were to die today, do you think you'd be saved? And why?
Well, yes. I believe I live my life as best as I can on a daily basis to love God and show God's love. Am I perfect at it? No, but I can't be perfect at it, because that's why Jesus Christ died on the cross, because I'm not perfect at it. But I think I've done pretty well in 49 years of showing God's love. That once I hit those gates, I think He'll say, "Job well done." And that's really all I could ask for.
I love it.
I hope. I mean, I think we all hope.
Yeah.
I think.
So,
Yeah. I definitely believe that I could have always done more. We could always done more. But Jesus' sacrifice on the cross was because we didn't do the extra.
And we'll never be able to do enough works.
Yeah.
I won't name this person, but there's someone close to me, and they're getting older, and I think I asked her the same question not too long ago, and she was like, "I don't know, I'm not sure if I've done enough," and I think I spoke a little bit of Romans to her about, I like the heart that you want to do more, but we don't have to earn God's love. We don't have to earn salvation.
Yeah. And rules. You're going to break rules every day. Like the 10 Commandments, to me, He broke them down so easily into 2. And I don't think people understand it. It's love God and love people. Because if you look at the 10 Commandments, that's what it's about. Love God, love people. And if you do that, you're fine.
And love covers a multitude of sins.
Yes.
So if you're loving, you're not going to sin. And we're not always loving. That's part of our condition of sin.
100%. I can tell you, there's times where I just want to sin. You know what I'm saying? I was like,
for sure.
I've had a bad day. I'm like, ah. But then you got to go, you know what? Think of the sacrifice that He made on that cross. Do I really want to go do that? Do I want to go do that sinful thing? No. His sacrifice was enough. I think I just need to stick to the plan.
The sacrifice was enough. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you, sir.
Really appreciate this conversation.
100%. Do it again.
All right. We'll have to run it back up sometime.
Absolutely.
All right, Will, do you want to shout your podcast out real quick?
Agree to Disagree. It's on, currently right now, it's on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. So check us out. Agree to Disagree on Facebook. And, join in the conversation. We'd love to have you.
And I'll post a link for you guys in the description of this episode if you'd like to go check out Bill and Shane's podcast. Bill, would you like to pray us out real quick?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Heavenly Father God, I just want to thank you for this time that we had together. I pray that if just one person watches this podcast and they see us 2 knuckleheads sitting here just showing God's love, that they can come to a relationship or come back to a relationship with Him and say, you know what? If these guys can open up and be honest about their failures and the things that has went wrong in their lives and the things that they're trying to do right, and God's covering over them and the blessings that He's giving, I pray that even if it's just that one person, that God just work in their lives, Father God. I pray that as Ian goes on through college and all the things that he's going to do, I pray that you send him people that will surround him and lift him up, not just in the good times but the bad times. And I pray that he walks with courage and he proclaims your gospel wherever he's at, not with just words, and sometimes with no words, but with just his actions. And I just pray these wonderful things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. This was great.
Yeah, it was. All right, guys. Take care.
Watch what they say, but don't do what they do. Actions speak louder in spirit and truth. I'm built different. I'm built different. Watch what they say, but don't do what they do. Actions speak louder in spirit and truth. All gas, no brakes. Can't fight fake. Mind over matter. Faith, no cape. Some only complain.